right, let's get into it. Welcome back. Today we've got a fun little experiment. Well, not an experiment. I wanted to record my progress without kind of speaking you through it at the time. So I'm going back now and just talking over from the edited video. I hope it all makes sense. If not, drop a comment and I'll answer it for you. So I've got a character. It's my character, my avatar that I've made in Daz. I've had it for a few years, and if you want to know how to make a character in Daz, I have a tutorial for that. You can go watch it. I start off by setting a little basic landscape just with the ANT and landscape add-on. I add a couple lights just to get them going, but I will be tweaking the lighting later. For all of the plants and rocks scattering that I'm doing, I'm using the Botanique add-on from Polygonique. I'll link it below. It's incredible. It's literally my favorite plugin for Blender, period. So here you see me weight painting just where I want the plants and rocks to be scattered. I wanted to go for something that had a little bit of structure that wasn't too randomized. I thought originally that maybe I could have this sort of pattern coming out from the character that had this sort of energy. Maybe it felt like they were the center of the plants and things in the scene. Eventually it kind of disappears and you don't notice that, but it's nice to have a kind of foundation at least, or an idea of why plants are growing in this landscape and why some are not. I switched over, I had some mushrooms, and then I spent like 20 minutes trying to decide what material the landscape itself was. Right now I'm using the Blender Kit library. It's an incredible free plugin for materials and things. It's great. And then I just decided I would deal with it later and kept it white for now so I could keep tweaking the grass and the mushrooms. I wanted to reduce the number of the mushrooms because it was a bit messy and you couldn't really tell what they were from the camera angle, so I increased the size and then dropped their numbers down, and also reduced the numbers of different species that were present. Added in some flowers, didn't really like them, switched them out for another one. By now I'm starting to get kind of happy with how it looks, and Blender decided to crash. To worry, because Blender's autosave works fantastically. And so here I am just tweaking some small little colors of the plants just to make them a little bit more cohesive. I like to just desaturate all of the grass because I hate really bright saturated colors in a lot of my scenes. Maybe to some people it looks muddy, but it's how I like it. And then we're going to make sure that their grippers are visible because they were getting hidden by all of that thick lush grass. And okay, I mean, in all seriousness, it's better to show at least some grounding to the environment. Like you see the shadow where the feet touch the ground, and without that it's less believable. And anyway, now on to my favorite bit, which is the hair grooming. Honestly, this is my I love it, and I have a whole tutorial about hair grooming. Some of the techniques that I'm showing in this one are slightly more advanced than the tutorial that I showed, so I will explain them as I cover them if they're extra from the hair tutorial, if that makes sense. So we just start off with the front section of the hair. I like to divide, for these like mullet kind of hairstyles, I like to divide it into a front and a back section. And we're going pretty short, just trying to get a little bit of shaping going with it. I like to keep it away from the ears because otherwise you can get some kind of funny interactions. So I'll just let this part play. It's very typical hair grooming, straightening bits out and then reshaping them when they're not quite how I like them to be. In a moment I'm going to start selecting other parts of the hair just to clean it up, so you don't have to groom with all of the sections of the hair. What you can do instead is, we're not there yet, but just bear with me. Yeah, so here I'm selecting just the lower half so I can have a bit more finer control and it's not affecting the rest of the length of the hair. So you can go in and select it, and you can press C to select more of the area using this kind of dropper. Or if you were to select a hair and then press Alt-L, it's going to select the rest of the length of the hair up until the root. But sometimes I don't want that. Sometimes I'm happy with how the root is looking, and other times I want to have that finer control. So yeah, you can even grab individual hairs and kind of move them if they're really in the way too much and align them with the rest. It makes things like doing this really kind of stylized bit a lot easier. And once I'm happy with how the front looks, I move on to the back. And I decided for this hairstyle I wanted to have some little horns. It's something I hadn't tried out before, but I had an idea for how to make it work, so I'm just adding two little areas with the weight paint and a new weight paint where these little bits are going to grow from, and then it's just a matter of a very simple, fast groom. I redid it a couple times just to get the shape right. And I'm checking it and I'm happy with it. So I'm going to replicate the method on the other side. And yeah, it's a mixture of using like a larger brush sometimes, like a larger radius, or sometimes a bit of a smaller radius, and coming just from the edge like that. And I think it looks really cute. And now onto the third and final bit of hair grooming. Again, a new weight paint. I wanted to do left and right just so I had a bit more fine control over it, because if you do it all from the back, you have to, and you're only showing the character from the front, you have to like separate the hair and bring a bunch of it forwards, and then you have some wasted hair that's being calculated that's all sitting at the back of the character. Obviously, if you're showing it, it's fine, but for this image, I know I'm just showing it from the front, and so I don't need all of this extra wasted hair at the back. And I used a lot of the puff brush here, which I don't use usually, but I really wanted a kind of blowing out, not so groomed, caught by the wind, sort of messy look here. And I'm playing around just with the curl and wave settings until I'm happy with it, really. And I will let this bit play too. Yeah, just, it's important to take the time to always look back and check, and once you're happy with it, to just go ahead and replicate it on the other side. If things are running a bit slow, as they were here for me, I just turn off the other one's visibility in the viewport, and then it speeds everything up. For some reason, I found this side harder to replicate the exact same technique, and the hair kept looking a lot more sort of bunched together. Rather, you can see here that the left side is like free, and then the right side is very clumpy, and I couldn't really work out why this was happening. But after a little bit of tweaking, I kind of managed to get there. And then all that's left to do is make sure that the camera is set up. I'm moving it around a little bit from how it was originally. I wanted to go for a close-in face shot, because why waste all of this hair grooming if I'm not going to show it off? And even though the lighting looks super nice, there's a few tiny tweaks that I want to go through at the end. Things like there's no reflection in the eyeball, and this is really what makes characters come alive. There's a few different ways you can do this. You can cheat, you can have, I often use a point light, but for some reason my scene was really tiny and the smallest point light was way too big. So instead I went for a spotlight and made the radius really, really tiny. And we're just getting this super nice reflection in the eye that looks a bit unrealistic, but once all of the other lights are turned back on. And here I'm just turning the lights all on one by one slowly to just double check that I like where all of them are placed, and that none of them are kind of wasted, and none of the face is too bright. And yeah, I decided to add a little bit of a colored light. It's maybe a little bit cheesy sometimes, but if you drop the strength of it down and it's just a small highlight, then it can be really effective. Off camera, I changed the color of the clothing to match a little bit, and then it's final settings for the render. So in the compositing, I prefer to do my denoising in the compositor rather than the default denoise. You just have to make sure that you follow these steps. Super easy. And then we hit render and we're done. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and please let me know what you'd want to learn and see next time. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.